action.
Video blogs are a powerful means of expression and sending messages. I want you to be a better video blogger.
Hi, my name is Akello Stone. I have been a sociology professor for the last 20 years, part-time, and a commercial actor who does a lot of two-camera work, which is what I'm doing right now. I love speaking to the camera, but I wasn't always this comfortable. As we move through this process, don't think that you have to inhibit who you are and how you communicate. For me, I have to kind of bring it in a little bit, and for other people, you have to raise it up. So, what are we going to learn in this Mastering the 1-Minute Video blog? It's simple. I have watched thousands of video blogs, and what I've seen is people still struggle. So I'm taking the time to go through my methodology and how I conduct my filming and plan and execute my own video blogs, and hopefully there's something that you can pick up along the way. There's an aesthetic issue I need to deal with, that right there. I've really spent the last 5 minutes clearing the conference room table of all the clutter so that it is aesthetically pleasing. The most important thing that you can do with a video blog is send a message. And so what we're doing is we're trying to package that message in a way that people will sit and take a listen and maybe gain something from, and it could transform their lives and the lives of others. Again, I don't know what your motivation is for doing a video blog, but I like to make sure that whatever I'm talking about is something I'm enthusiastic about, something I'm passionate about, something I'm knowledgeable about, and it does not mean you have to be an expert. Remember, you only have 1 minute to deliver a significant message to people using this medium. I have a particular structure that I think works well for the 1-minute video blog. It does not require you memorizing lines. I think it's very helpful to have an outline that you can work with. Have some speaking points that you've gone through, and maybe you could even do a couple rehearsal takes. But for me, I like to just lay it down, go for a 1 take if I can. However, it doesn't always happen that way, but at least 1 or 2 takes. But don't get caught up on perfection. I certainly am not a perfectionist when it comes to my delivery on a video blog. I could spend 4 or 5 hours if I needed to make that happen. But I think what's most important is that it is a natural sounding message, not something that feels rehearsed, that feels, like you're not really talking about it, but you're just reading a script. Teleprompter apps are invaluable for certain things, but it does not mean that you don't become familiar with the message that you're sending. For me, when I use a teleprompter, I usually print out the entire script, I read it several times, I become familiar with it, and on the teleprompter for the words. I've already been familiar with the words. It just kind of helps me so I don't forget what I was talking about. Right now, I'm going through my head, I have a page of notes, and sometimes I lose my train of thought. No.
So, I want to...
Check it out. If someone is paying me to deliver a message, it's a little bit different than if I'm doing it for myself. There's really 2 aspects of content. One is the message that you're sending, and the other is the delivery of that message. I think that is content, and someone could say that that's more form, but I believe that the delivery and the content go hand in hand. Again, when you're talking about something you're very interested in, enthusiastic about, even passionate about, it's going to come through in the way that you share that message and how the message is structured, how it is formed, and where it starts and where it goes. I think there are times on camera when you can freestyle it if you're having a Zoom meeting. You're not going to, unless you're preparing a presentation. There's a lot of ways in which we can kind of informally communicate through this medium. However, I'm trying to focus on elevating people's professional presentation of self. And one of the things that involves is how you've organized your ideas into the time limit that you've been given. And in this case, it's 60 seconds.
But what you do have to have is a really good structure for your blog. We're working with 1 minute, which is really not a lot of time because we're literally dealing in sentences versus paragraphs. Or you can kind of think of paragraphs, but like how much normally could you read within 1 minute? They say usually like a page, but it depends on how quickly you speak. But the thing that I like to point out in this 1 minute is I think there is a part 1, a part 2, which has 3 individual parts, and then a part 3. Call them parts, call them segments, whatever you want. We could actually call them segments. Let's call them segments. So the first segment is getting people's attention. How do you get people's attention? If you don't get people's attention right from the start, they're not going to listen to the rest of what you have to say. So you want to punch them with some thought that makes them say, wow, I never thought about it that way. I want to see what they have to say. Or give them the kind of enthusiasm, and hopefully it's coming out of you naturally, but give them the kind of enthusiasm that's going to say, this person is really interested in what they're talking about, because there is nothing more boring than someone talking about something they are obviously not interested in. So we want to do some type of attention grabbing, and it doesn't mean you have to be, you have to create that out of nothing. It should already be something that you can think of. Again, if you're talking about a topic that you're not interested in, it is going to be a struggle. So find something you're definitely interested in. Get the person who is watching the video, who's watching the video blog, to want to see what you have to say. And then here, I think you can have 3 major points. Points 1, points 2, point 1, point 2, and point 3. Now, I could have done this in this produced way where, I have everything scripted, I do it over and over again, but again, 20 years under the belt of being in the classroom, in a college classroom, doing workshops and things, I just kind of riff with it. I know what I want to say, and I riff with it. Do I sometimes go a little bit longer than I wanted to? Yes. Do I sometimes forget things and have to go back and plug them in? Yes. These are not problems for me. But again, back to the 1 minute, is you really don't have time to do all that. But I'm hoping that when you master the 1 minute video blog, then you'll have the confidence and the skills and techniques to be able to master a 5-minute video blog, then the 35-minute. I'm not sure how long you want to talk for, but let's stick with this 1 minute. So you're going to make 3 points, but all these points really need to relate to whatever you put forth in the attention grabbing. So that's like kind of a statement, if you will, or an idea. And then each of these points should support that. It's kind of like writing. I do the same thing if I have an essay exam, an essay to write. I'll have 5 paragraphs. In the first one, I get their attention, basically state what I'm going to be talking about, the nature of the problem. I'll call it the nature of the problem. Like what am I talking about? What is the problem? One thing about the study of sociology is you'll find that there are a lot of problems. And then lastly is, what is the significance of this idea, topic, to the life of the viewer? Like why do they want to know this? You can also do kind of what is a call to action? Like what can you tell people they can do? Because people sometimes want to know what to do to solve the problem. But this is a very basic template. And if you use this, you won't have to worry about how to start and how to end, because you want to start strong, you want to end strong. And you don't want to just cut off when the minute happens, right? It's okay if you go, a few seconds earlier or later, but you don't want to cut off. You want to make it seem like that's it. This all I had to tell you in 1 minute. I mean, think about if you ever watch the news. The typical news story when they're running through the news headlines on the news, like 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds. Most commercials, 20 to 30 seconds. A lot of times people go much longer than they need to go. That's why I think it's good to really get the fundamentals and really pack it into that 1 minute. It is a challenge, absolutely. So this is an example of a little corner of my garage that I've created kind of a backdrop set that's very minimal, that's not going to interfere with the video that I'm sharing with you, and it also puts the attention on me. It's quite well lit. I'm going to show you what it looks like from my perspective. This is what my space, my filming space looks like. I can film with this as the backdrop, or I can film with this as the backdrop. I have a table that I move around depending on what I need it to use it for. And this is all in my garage. I'm in another part of this office space because I wanted to give you another vantage point of doing a video blog. I really like this because I feel like I'm actually sitting down with you in my chair, my comfortable chair. I got a nice little plant right there. Very minimal. Again, it's really all about the conversation that we're having. And a video blog can be a conversation. It's about sending a message. I don't know if you're repeating that. Yeah. So if you feel comfortable sitting in a chair, even though you're far away from the phone, if you have a lavalier mic, it can pick up your audio very easily. When I think of video blogs, particularly the increase in the number of people on camera as a result of the pandemic, I find that there's a lot of people who really rely on bells and whistles. Now, I'm an experienced video editor. I've been editing videos for 14 years. Started out with Final Cut, moved on to Adobe Premiere Pro. I do a lot of stuff with iMovie on my iPhone. It's $4.99. Invaluable to be able to cut clips up quickly, do it on my phone without having to go through the whole uploading, downloading. Lastly, how do you take this message, how do you take this video blog that you filmed and give some final touches to it? Obviously, there's a number of ways that you can enhance what you say with graphics and music and sound and overlays and video, which is all terrific. And if you reach that point of your skill level, I think it's great to see all that, as long as it's done appropriately. We don't want to just, we don't want our whole message to rest on, again, like I referred to earlier, the bells and the whistles. But let's just talk. I want to give you a little sense of what, editing really is. And I know, like, I was excited on the iPhone when you were able to do a little bit of editing, a little bit of color correction right in the photo app. What it does not allow you to do is cut out pieces that you don't want. So if you think about a timeline, an editing timeline, so like here's your video, kind of will look like this. And these are really clips. The average frame rate is 30 frames per second. That means if this was 1 second, there would be 30 individual photos in each of those frames, and that's a lot. But if you have 1 minute in length, and then you have yourself, talking. One thing I think is something that everyone can do is to trim the ends of the video where you are turning on the video and then starting, and then you might reach over and turn it off. You need to snip that out. And on my iPhone, if I go into editing, I'm going to get kind of this yellow block around it that allows me to slide it in and then save it as a new video, or save it as, if you do a save as the video, it'll just replace that. I would just save it as a video. You don't need to keep that video that has that kind of turning it on, turning it off on the end. Now, as far as jump cuts, if you were using iMovie or something similar, and we were to take this same clip, there may be moments where, I know that sometimes I have moments where I'm not saying anything. It's just blank space. So you can actually go in and take those clips out. So what you do is, on the timeline again, like with iMovie, I can go in, I can split it. Okay, that's going to split that timeline, and then I can do another split. So let's say between the two splits, there's this moment where nothing is happening. Moment of nothing. Once you go in and make those two splits, you can highlight that piece of the clip, and then you can just delete it and get it right out of there. Then it's gone. But be careful with the jump cuts, because if you're cutting in the middle of a word and you start the next one with the word, it's going to be really clumsy. Here's an example of a jump cut. I'm using a program that allows me to pause the recording, which can be very helpful if I only want to do it in really small chunks. And then I can hit resume, and then I can record, and I can kind of get right back to it. This program alleviates the challenges of editing post-production, right, and allows you to do it right now. So that's why I could do the jump cuts right now instead of waiting till the video is shot and then taking my whole weekend to edit. You have to think about the editing if you're going to do the jump cut before you film. And this happens especially if I'm doing what's called user-generated content, where I film things and I get paid to do it. They give me the script, they tell me what I need to talk about, and then I will remove some of the stuff that I think could be taken out. In the case of a 1 minute, it's really important to stay within that timeline. And it might just be one or two jump cuts where something wasn't being said, or maybe, you knocked the camera over, or someone knocked on the door, interrupted. Just keep it rolling and cut that piece out. If you're trying to stay within the time limit, don't just cut off a very important part. What I like to do is, once I have a sentence and I read the sentence, I'll make sure there's a little space, also called a beat, in between, like I just did right there. Then if you do the jump cuts, you won't be as prone to cutting off a word. And I was just watching a video blog tutorial today, and some of his jump cuts were really messy. So unless you're doing a volume of 20 videos a day, you should be able to kind of fine tune those things. And again, if you're doing 1 minute, those jump cut sloppiness will really take away from the quality of the video blog. I wanted to wrap this up with a few quick tips of distractions that happen when you're filming that I have seen personally. Again, I've seen thousands of video blogs, and I was like, they didn't see that? How come they didn't see that? Did they watch their video? Did they send their video to someone else to watch it? You don't want to, it's always good to have a second set of eyes on anything that you create, period. Whether it's written, whether it's video, I do it all the time. Smoke alarms. If you have a smoke alarm that takes a 9-volt battery and it's beeping every 60 seconds, well, number one, that means you need to replace the battery, and you want to have that smoke alarm operational. But besides that, it becomes very distracting because the person is talking. And even within a minute, depending on how frequent that smoke alarm beeps, it will beep a couple times. And again, that really annoys me. It annoys me because the person who's making the video should be aware of that. They should have watched the video and said, oh, that's a smoke alarm. Oh, that's an ice cream truck. Oh, the fan was blowing. Oh, that TV was so loud and the music was playing. So it just goes on and on, So always watch your video before posting or sharing. In fact, after you have filmed it, I want you to immediately watch it. Look listen, see what happens. That's what I've been doing all day with these. I was like, oh, did it come out? Can I hear it? Okay, good. And then I'll look at it in more depth later when I edit this. There are many things that you cannot control. It's like you cannot control the ice cream truck. I have about 4 or 5 of them. I know all the songs. I know when I hear hello, do, and then it just goes on, and I know I can't control that. When is it most quiet where you live or where you could be filming? Could be a workplace somewhere else. When is it the quietest? Like for me, early morning. I'm usually up by 4:30, 5 o'clock. I think my circadian rhythms for the summer are different. I get up earlier. It's quiet. No one's sending emails. The ice cream trucks are not going by. Maybe hear a few dogs barking in the background, but check that out. And late night could also work as well. 2 more things that I have found in watching the video blogs that I think are an easy correction. One is up talking. I don't know if you've ever heard of up talking, but if you were to ask me a question and I said, you said, where are you going for vacation? And I was like, I think I'm going to go to Joshua Tree, or I might go to Monterey. I don't know if I want to be in the desert or be by the ocean. You see how the end comes up? It's almost like tentative, like I'm not really sure. I'm answering a question that I'm not sure of. So you want to, if you see yourself doing that, become aware of that. So you kind of want to, and again, I know this is in the speech class. Speech class should get even in more depth, public speaking and that kind of thing. But at least I'm finding things that I think are very basic and could easily be corrected. So the up talking, the best way to eliminate up talking is to start to speak with a down and going down at the end of the sentence, even if you have to exacerbate it a little bit. And again, these are things, some of the things that we all do. Many people do up talk, but in general, it's always good to be aware of that. So I'm making you aware. The other thing is people who repeat ums or a like, or they do a like, right? You would be amazed. I've watched video blogs where as many as 10 ums in 60 seconds. Hey, I'm guilty of the ums as well. So what I have done mentally is be aware of the ums, number one, and number two, when I find myself about to say I just take a pause and say nothing. I think pauses are so underrated and they're so powerful. And that gives you a little bit of a couple microseconds to be able to get your next thought together. Because that's what really is. Is kind of like, hold on, I have a thought, hold on, okay, here it comes. And I'm talking, and then it's saying, and I'm thinking about it, right? So, take a pause, say nothing, look around, thoughtfully, and it's very quick, and then get right back on it. So, again, one of the things that I have been personally working on this year is to reduce the number of ums, hopefully to 0. I've gotten better with it, but I'm not at 0 because I do find myself not being aware that I've done it, right? So am I saying it? Do I feel like I'm about to say record yourself, watch the video, count the ums, count the likes, see if you're up talking, see if you can be heard, see if you can be seen. How's that angle? How's that framing going? So these are the things that I think would make a very helpful skills in your video blog toolbox. Here's an example of a jump cut. I'm using a program called Ecamm Live and allows me to pause the recording, which can be very helpful if I only want to do it in really small chunks. And then I can hit resume, and then I can record, and I can kind of get right back to it. So again, what this program does is it kind of alleviates some of the challenges of editing.
I wanted to talk about 5 things that I think are critical in creating a good, technically sound video blog. The first is lighting. Now, many people mess up on lighting. You can't see their face. There's light. If there's something happening, and you probably already know this, if not, if there's light behind you, your face is going to be dark. So you always want to make sure you have light in front of you. If you want to get more advanced, as you get into position, you want to make sure you kind of have the sides lit. A lot of times I tell people the best lighting possible is the one that nature provides. So natural lighting is always excellent, but make sure it is lighting your face and you are not going deep down into the shadows. The next thing I want to talk about, again, of significant importance is the audio. Now, not everybody's going to run out and and buy a microphone or use a microphone. So if you're using a microphone on your device, like the iPhone or a laptop, make sure that you're close enough and that you're speaking loud enough for that microphone to hear you. But there are many people who are just not loud enough for the microphone to capture that. I have probably spent 45 minutes today making sure the sound is good before I started talking. Because what you don't want to do is start filming your blog and then the sound quality is so poor you didn't catch it. You go to check it and you have to do it all over again. And of course, I had stops and starts probably 25, 30 times. And you can do kind of mid-chest to the top of the head, leaving some space on top. I like to talk with my hands, so usually I might do more of a waist-up thing. But if you're not a hand talker, you could just do it from the mid-chest up. It's good to have you centered in the frame. If, for example, for me, if I am going to add some text or images, I might be kind of more to the side here, so I could put those images right there. Boom. But if you are just talking with no graphics, center is always the best way to go. Angle. As you can see right now, it's like you and I are having a conversation eye to eye. This is another area where a lot of people miss the mark. They have angles that are quite severe. If you are looming over your laptop, the laptop angle is tilted, you're going to be at an angle that looks as if you're looking down at the viewer. And let me keep this in mind that you are creating this content for the viewer. So you want them to have the best experience and you want them to feel like they're really connecting with you. As you can see, I have been looking at the camera as much as I possibly can. That is something I think is important. Now, if you have some notes, I have some notes over here on a whiteboard. I have a few notes over here. I may have some notes over here to check really quickly, but do not stay on the notes. What I've seen people do is they're recording themselves, and instead of looking at the camera, they're looking at the screen 95% of the time. It should be the other way around. Kind of look, oh, there's my next point I'm going to make. This is not, for many people, video blogs are kind of riffing on ideas. There is a structure, of course, but you want to make sure that you're covering these technical aspects before we get to the content. I don't know why I'm jumping in there. Finally, aesthetic. Now, I rented this space at a aesthetic is so important. That means what's going on behind you in the background. Is it a pile of dirty clothes? Is a bunch of things that can be very distracting. Did I talk about angle? Yeah, okay. They can be very distracting. They can take away from what you're actually saying. Take the time to make sure your background is good. In this particular room, there's a couple outlets that I didn't want in the frame. There was a lot of white walls in this particular room. This is a bunch of clutter that we have here on the table that I'm working in this room. I don't want any of that to see. There's a bunch of clutter on this table in this room, and I wouldn't want anyone to see that, so I make sure that the aesthetic is pleasing. Now, this particular wall, it's just a white wall. It's kind of boring, so I've chose this corner, and this corner of this room has kind of a You know, there's a dark area here. There is a whiteboard that can be moved around. I take the time to position these things so that I can use them and so they're not distracting. So be mindful of that before you begin to video blog. I mean, it would be nice if you had a dedicated space that you could pop in like a studio. Everything's going to be set up the same every time, but most of us do not have that. So you need to take at least 10 to 15 minutes to do a light check, to make sure you look good, you can be seen, to make sure you can be heard. That's an audio test. You say a couple words, you play it back, you listen to it, you watch it, you look what's happening in the background for the aesthetic. What is the framing like? What is the angle like? This is your opportunity to fine tune those things instead of jumping right in and just being done with it. You don't want to approach it that way. And one of the reasons I wanted to focus on mastering the 1 minute video blog is if you can get 1 minute mastered, then you can start adding more time and be on camera longer. But don't jump into it going for 5 to 7 minutes when you haven't mastered just what 1 minute can be like. So again, there are transferable aspects of the 1 minute video blog for other types of on-camera work or video work. So this is not specific to video blogging if you don't have an interest in that, but whatever you're doing on camera, these are things that you should always keep in mind. Now, most people are filming with their smartphone, and as a general rule, unless you're posting on something like TikTok or Snapchat, is that you film in landscape orientation, that's sideways. Imagine watching a feature film that was filmed this in a vertical, which is also known as portrait mode. You'd have the two black lines on each side of the screen, and nobody would want to do that. And I feel the same way about video blogs. I myself do project a lot of content from my phone onto my TV, and when I do that, I'm expecting that the whole screen is going to be full. So keep that in mind, and particularly if you are a student in my class, make sure you film in landscape. So I am hoping that you found this video helpful. I have been working on the video and getting footage all summer, and now I just sat down and tried to put it together so that I could bring it to you. But I made a video so that you could watch it again and again if you wanted to, or watch different parts, because it's a very challenging sometimes for both you and I to work together through an online class. So that's why I've taken the time to create the video to show you how to create videos, and make sure that you look at the rubric that is on the assignment instruction page at sociologyonline.weebly.com. Hopefully it's all clear. I've used the instructions and I've edited them from semester to semester. So I'm really hoping that everything comes together for you and you really do a bang up job on your video blogs, which is one of my favorite parts of the class.